Are you ready to find out why you absolutely need a virtual assistant as an entrepreneur? In this video, I'm going to dive through a few of the reasons why a lot of our clients at 2XU, which is my virtual assistant agency, have loved having an assistant, and even those who didn't end up working with 2XU. What are the reasons why, as you're growing your business, as you're setting your goals for the year ahead, why you probably need a virtual assistant to support you in a lot of them. Now, the first thing is honestly where you're at now. And this is a common thing that we hear from all of our clients, from every single discovery call that I have been on in the last 5 years of running 2XU, is they usually have three things that they're going through. The first one is that overwhelmed with tasks of everything louder than everything else. What this means is, and honestly, I have been there as a solopreneur or as someone starting a business, you're probably wearing a lot of piles of different hats. You are the person doing the marketing, you're the person doing the sales, you're the person doing operations, you're the person managing your employees, you're the person who is, again, doing everything else within the business. And to a certain point, that is kind of the beginning where everyone is, and it's kind of normal. But you do get to the point where as your business starts growing, you just can't keep running it. You have to grow it instead of run it. That's honestly where an assistant comes in. The second thing that most of these entrepreneurs are going through is because everything's louder than everything else, it's kind of hard to build systems and assets and templates and ways to make sure that the business can keep running even without them, which then turns into the third reason where they are their own bottleneck within the business. The moment that they step away, if they're sick, if there's a family event, if there's something that happens, they can't step away from their business without the business starting to fall apart. And yes, this is kind of a big ask from an assistant, but I want to tell you why an assistant is the best start for it. So if you've never heard of a virtual assistant, basically what can they do? Now, it is a variety of different tasks depending on what you want them to focus on. But what would help also is I want to differentiate the difference between an actual virtual assistant, like your virtual assistant, and an employee. Now, most of the time when people think virtual assistant, like, oh, I need someone to do my social media, my content, I need someone to do my project management or operations, which is part of what a virtual assistant can do. But specifically, what I am talking about is a virtual assistant who's focused on you and then the business. And most people, when they hire an assistant, they just think of like a virtual assistant for the business. And this is where, again, the operations, project management, social media assistant comes in, is they're more focused on, again, just on the business rather than for you. But for you as an entrepreneur, you probably, high chances is you need someone who is your virtual assistant. One of the better questions is, what can't they do? They probably can't do a little bit of programming. That is for a programmer. They can't do a lot of the very technical things. And what they can't do is they can't be your unicorn. They can't be, just because you can do 10 tasks within the day, you can never expect your assistant to do the same thing. Because for you, you love your business. You know it inside and out. For your assistant, even if they've been with you for a year or 2 years, there's going to be things that they don't have the context for, or that they just didn't know. Because again, for you as an entrepreneur, you've been doing everything on your own for so long that it's very automatic. For your assistant, they're kind of that person for you to unlearn a lot of these automatic things. So with an assistant, you're able to then start kind of really narrowing down what are things that you want to do and what are things you want to definitely delegate. And I usually recommend for a lot of our clients that they start with the tasks that are recurring, the tasks that are a little bit more just, again, running the business rather than growing it. So perfect example I love using is like things like your onboarding tasks, things like your personal branding. So for example, for this whole YouTube video, my assistant helps me kind of conceptualize what video to do. She helps me when it comes to working with the video editor after I film the video, and then it's going ahead and actually creating the thumbnail, uploading this on YouTube, creating a description, so on and so forth. So that is her focus on me. We do have an amazing social media manager at 2XU who then just focuses on 2XU. So that's kind of the hopefully I'm getting to you guys of like knowing the difference between a virtual assistant and employee that you're hiring. So on what else the assistant can do is, aside from helping you kind of know what to focus on. So for example, for me, as I have my assistant, and happens to all our clients, is then you start realizing like, oh, my main focus as a business owner is to point strategy or build the strategy, give it to everyone else to execute, create the content, and do sales. That's my focus, at least. And a lot of our clients basically turn into the same way, like, hey, I just want to show up for our clients. I want to take care of them the best way. The other else. I know everything else in the business I know needs to get done, but it doesn't have to be necessarily for me. So you want to look at that from that point of view, like what are the ways that I can just show up for the business and actually grow it rather than me running it. Once you have that, once you have the clarity of what to delegate, what not to delegate, then it's easier for you and your assistant to actually build the system, build your standard procedures, build the training for new employees, build assets and templates. You might be still creating your contract from scratch every single time. You might not have a template where it's easy for you to clean. You might not have a process or a tool that actually makes your project management a little bit easier because you're doing it all in your head. That is kind of the power and the benefit of having an assistant, is kind of the power to be able to step back so you can do more. And that's kind of a funny paradox, I guess, of having an assistant, is you're able to do less because they can do more than you would ever do. And then that also gives you the power to be able to actually step back from the business, think, strategize, and then execute. Which means that you've basically gotten to the point where you are now not anymore the bottleneck within the business, and then you can go ahead and take breaks, you can go ahead and pursue other goals, you can go ahead and be the person joining mastermind groups, be the person doing, you know, the way that I do it, where I'm able to go on stages in different parts of the world, I'm able to do podcasts, I'm able to do more of the things that grow my business rather than me running it, because I do have my assistant, and then with my assistant we have a team inside of 2XU to help it keep going. Now that you know all of this, how can you actually succeed in working and managing a virtual assistant? Now there's three main things that I will go over. Now I have a ton of videos on my YouTube channel on how to be able to do it. The three main things that hopefully you guys will be taking away. First thing is they need clarity. What that means is, as the business owner, it is your responsibility to give your assistant and your employees, for this matter, a clarity on what they're working on, what your expectations are, and essentially that context of how what they're doing is actually serving the business, how it's growing the business. So as a really good example, we just had our annual meeting within 2XU, and one of our amazing managers asked me, like, as we were setting the goals, putting the numbers, like, oh, we want to hit this revenue goal, we want to hit this many clients, blah 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 blah. She asked, like, what's the point of these numbers? And in that moment, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't give them the context of this. So this is where I see 2XU going. So once I started with that, and then we went to the numbers, everything else made so much sense. So that is what I mean, that it is your responsibility to keep things going, to give them the clarity, so then they can, you can get out of the way and they can get things done even without you. The second is to give them feedback. And this is a key thing that a lot of people make of, like, oh, my assistant self-managed, they can do it on their own. They still need your feedback to know if they are doing well or if there's something that they can improve on. And this is, again, as you're working with them, you're building that working relationship. So it's really key and really important that you do build that with them. And of course, growing with them. You don't want to have the same virtual assistant for the last 5 years still doing the same things over and over again. You want to eventually either hire out and grow your assistant out of those tasks, or as you grow as an entrepreneur, as you do different things, you're taking your assistant with you. And that's, again, the difference between having a virtual assistant and having an employee, is the virtual assistant basically goes through the same things that you are. Anytime that you're venturing something new or doing something else, they are growing with you. As a perfect example, I always thought of myself as not a numbers person, just because I very much am creative. I go with the flow. I make decisions. I look at the past numbers, but then sometimes I don't have all of it. And within the last year, we've built a 2XU dashboard, we've built a lot of the AI automations. So I've kind of really had to learn how to become a data person. And that has reflected with my assistant, where she also starts thinking and seeing things that way, just because that's where my focus is. Because honestly, that's kind of the difference, again, with a virtual assistant and an employee, is that your assistant goes where you go, versus an employee, they do have their own objectives, they have their own KPIs that were set by you. So that's kind of the main thing that I'm hoping that you guys are able to really understand, of why you need a virtual assistant as an entrepreneur, not an employee, not a marketing, social media assistant, or whatever it is that's for your business. You need a marketing, social media assistant for you, for your branding, for whatever goals that you have and what you're aiming for, so then you can grow together. Now, I hope you guys like this video. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there. Comment below questions that you might have when it comes to hiring and working with a virtual assistant. I would love to know. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!